Rays on my skin, like a quiet echo. Your hand so whispering the under. Heartbeat sink, so distant tender. Soft cards coming in, let me drift, let me swim. In your tide, I disappear. Say oh, keep me here. Talking in the dark about things we never say. I still am more than I'm asked today. Every smile tap feels like a brightness. Time melts in till it's only us. Stay away, don't change a thing. Every shallow break makes my senses sing. You lean close and I'm just blue. Often I say talk till it's just us two.
What's going on, guys? Back again for another streaming session here. Pretty slow day today on across the board. I mean, other than some individual names, pretty slow day for me. We had a huge gap down, obviously, and other than a few of these names that kind of moved, things kind of just stayed in range until midday, and then we kind of just pulled back lower. So I'm going to get into that as well. Again, to kind of where we kind of opened up for SPY and QQ, what kind of happened today, trades I took, and then what I'm kind of eyeing for tomorrow. So let's get into it here. First things first, AMD was one of the first ones to catch kind of my attention here, kind of right after open, massive push out of demand here. And like I said, these are the explosive moves I'm looking for at open. I'm sad that I didn't go with AMD. I saw the contracts were pretty juiced. By the time I got to it, we were already hitting this 232, 234 area right here. And yes, I probably could have waited till we got above that 234 and took calls, and that would have worked. We went to our target supply zone up here before sellers kind of stepped in and rejected into close. That's all right. I'm seeing that for tomorrow now. I mean, it is flagging here. I like this downtrend breakout flagging. I'm going to keep an eye on this. It's up $2 here after hours. We're still in kind of in this zone here. Yeah, I mean, I really thought it would kind of do something like this where it did on, what was that, Thursday? Projected that 237 went a little bit higher. So we'll see kind of what happens tomorrow, but I'm going to keep an eye on this just in case. Another name I saw kind of rip was Google here at open, ended up closing most of its gap, pushing into the 328, 324. Again, I like this and I was watching it, but, by the time, I kind of was agreeing with it, I'm already seeing it here, and, at first 15 candle almost did the whole move, really did the whole move from 320 to 324, 325 supply zone. I knew this is a supply zone. I don't know what they were going to do in it. I don't know if sellers are going to step in or not. And so, of course, we did go higher and eat most of that gap in Google there, but they decided, they ran out of gas almost to the top of that supply zone, and noticed exactly what it did. But, we opened up in this demand, went up, grinded, and then pushed right back into that demand where it closed. So pretty beautiful. Glad I wasn't on the wrong end of that. But again, watching this tomorrow, it showed some decent strength. We'll see. Not really on my top three, but up there as far as something I saw for today. Another name that I saw as well, IWM. IWM ripped that open as well. This one, no excuse. I missed this one. Plenty of room above, that 262 area. Ended up running to 264. Could have made a little money off this for sure. Again, this was kind of just, it opened up in demand and then ripped through to a new zone, which, is only a few dollars up. And then from there, grinded. So I didn't really see it other than maybe, watching it break out of the flag here, and probably wait to see if it retested from there, slam that dip right there on that retest for that move, to a high of day. Again, today was a little bit tougher, I would say. I knew SPY and Q were going to start hitting their gaps kind of, after open there, and they did. SPY a little bit weaker, Q a little bit stronger, with Q eating, some of its gap there. And, that's what I was looking for kind of near open. I was watching Q the most, and did play Q calls after we broke above this 613 level, which again, ended up going a little bit higher to that 615, ate some of the gap, and then just kind of just held up there and then ended up reversing out. So my first play, I trimmed the most, but the last few stops stops at like 20%, 25%, end up getting stopped out on the last few. So that was all right there, as well. Uh, Small size, of course. I only did 3 trades today, small size. The second trade was Amazon. Amazon kept it very tight here, but out of demand, pushed up, hitting supply. We started eating some of that gap there, and then of course after that couldn't really get through there and ended up coming back down to demand. Regardless, the last ended up hitting stops at like what, 20%, 30% again. So that was probably the only position where I actually, took a normal stop on 20%, 30%. It was like 20, 25%. So at this point, this is my second trade. At this point, I am now about slightly red on the day. I was green, by a little bit off the Q calls, because most of it, well, I was green, but I went small size. I got a small gain. I was green. This ended up taking me red. And so what after that was my third trade. My third trade was actually my best trade, which ended up, was taking puts right here on SPY under that 681 level, knowing we were going to drop, from that 681 level all the way down to the 678. So we caught this right here. Puts went over 200%. I took 50, 60%, and, was green on the day, made it, 400 or 500 bucks, and was kind of like, all right, I'll take it. I'll take it. So this was just one of those things where all you got to do is really stay patient for the move. I liked this play, and honestly, it should have been the only play, for the day. To be honest, the only hardest part was just kind of staying patient. And what I saw there was just pretty much this, where pre-market I just drew a yellow trend line across, just kind of like holding up right the uptrend. And I knew once that breaks, we can take puts. And notice where I took the puts, exactly where that broke on that candle right there. First one opened up, or yeah, that one opened up under, but I needed to wait for it to close. And once it closed and this one opened up, I knew, confirmation was there. So yes, looking at it now, Cube did the same thing as SPY here. And it was just like, dang, I should have just waited for this, because this would have been easily 200-300%, and I could have just really gone normal size, and really just won on that. But I wanted to play a little bit smaller across the board and just give myself a little bit of grace when it came to, because a lot of things were very slow. It was very slow, and it was very just kind of difficult. So, okay, that's all right. We'll see kind of what happens going into tomorrow. And that's what I'm looking forward going into tomorrow, right? We're seeing a little bit of green here after hours. We held demand. Again, I'm not going to be scared that if we end up kind of pushing up and they try and go for this, more of the gap up here, then I'm ready for it, because I know this is probably the better RR as far as, cheaper contracts for calls, and this pushing up has a lot of room to go up there now. Q is doing the same thing. Q did not break, that kind of pre-market low. It closed near it. So tomorrow's going to be super easy. If we end up breaking that pre-market, today's pre-market low or today's low, right? Then we know puts are going to work in tomorrow. If we hold and we kind of just hold in this zone, right, or in this range, and then we break above probably 611 here, we know we're running to 615. So that's already a $4 move. We know it's going to happen, and then it's going to start the gap, which then my next target will be up there to 616, 617, 618. So zone to zone, but again, that will be kind of a downtrend breakout push. Pretty nice. I mean, we'll bank heavily off that. So I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all at small wins today or small losses, wherever you are on the board. Just make sure that when we do get a really good move this week, to normal size it and hang on for the normal size wins, and don't be quick to take the greens. Only be quick to take the greens on a day like today for sure. Nvidia's flagging as well. It was showing weakness. A lot of these names, are kind of moving in this area where, we trickled down, and now it's kind of gearing up for a very possible, downtrend breakout, but we'll see. I'm ready to keep shorting if needed, but if they try and push it up and show a little bit of upside or gap fill, then I'm ready for that as well. I'm not going to shy away from that at all. Amazon was showing some real buyers trying to step in. We'll see though. Again, back above 233 here. Let's see if it ends up shooting into that 235. Above 235, I know I'm slamming calls for that move back up to 238. That's an easy win all day. Easy win all day. We got IWM still holding up strong, flagging with some of its gap left. I'm loving that as well. Gold showing some real strength here after hours as it's still pushing up to new highs. Huge gap up into today. Just creating huge gaps on the moves up and just still going. So again, there is some decent moves here, right? AMD for some more upside. We'll see. There are some moves here. And I'm not going to push it. I'm not going to force it. I'm going to wait for the best one or see what's the best one at open for that squeeze. And we're going to go for it. And that's really it. I mean, we caught, the QQQ here, at open, and, looking at this, it's like, you could be like, that looked like a good move, right? That looked like a good move. But the contracts really weren't moving the best. And that was probably the tougher part, but yeah, I mean, we still caught a $4 move through here. And it just wasn't as clean as I would have wanted to be, but again, all good. We'll see kind of what they do going into tomorrow. Like I said, we are seeing a little bit of green. We got this gap up here, and we usually don't see gaps kind of hold or stay unfilled for a while. Especially on some gap downs, and if they do, that's all good. We know we're going to be able to revisit that level up there, and we're going to bank on this when it's time. That's for sure, and it's going to come aggressive. So we'll be able to bank off calls. For now, I mean, we'll keep our options open and just see the setups at hand, and so we're at some pretty good supports at a lot of these names, which is awesome because we know that if we lose them and we're going lower for sure, we can definitely take some of those puts for the next ride down, especially for QQ. I mean, QQ doesn't look bad at all, knowing that if we end up losing today's low, we should come down to the 600 level, but we have an open gap. And let's see if I can show you guys. We have an open gap right down here at 601, 602. So we know that, that's going to be a nice gap fill for the move down if we lose 606. So a $5 move plus easy, $5 to $6 move. We got that. That's banking. And on the downside, it's more. So if that downside comes, if not, we got this huge gap above. I'm ready. So we'll see what side ends up going for it first, and we'll just ride with it and win with it. That's really how you do it right there. So if you want my trades, wap.com/Regal Capital, join the team. Tomorrow is Wednesday. So of course, shorter week already because we've had a holiday week, right? So we will see kind of what happens, but I do love these setups. And that's the thing. I'm looking for that big, setup that's going to really pay for the week. And then we can sit back and maybe just be a little bit more cautious or just take our wins, go from there. We have, I think, Trump speaking tomorrow. I know he was speaking today, tomorrow, and then we have core PC and GDP Thursday. So the market's going to be waiting on that. So for tomorrow, we'll see kind of how it sets up. But, with how the news or how data we've been coming out, it's all skewed in the upside favor. So it's very possible that these huge gaps that the market's going to be waiting for that data to try and go for it. Regardless, we'll keep that in mind. But regardless, we definitely can win off that, and we'll stay patient for it. So we'll definitely stay patient for it. We will see what we can do. And that's really all I'm looking for right here. Not seeing any other like super banger setups, other than the few that I definitely mentioned. Of course, I'm looking for that upside, right? I'm looking for the strength if that upside does come right now. I think a lot of people are probably locked in on puts now, and they're probably trying to short down here, when there's no confirmation that we're going lower just yet. And especially if we hold going into tomorrow, then the market will hold until news. Then the news will decide it, or the data will decide it uh, on Thursday. So we will see. MU is showing some really good strength, right? Gap down, then pushed right back up, and then pushed to 381. I know contracts are probably juiced. Oops. I know probably these contracts probably juiced to the core right here. Yeah, if you feel like touching, if you feel like dropping $1,000 for each contract at the money, yeah, it's pretty crazy, but we will see. Keep an eye on some of these names, all right? Keep an eye on some of these names, and we will see some decent setups. I really like AMD. I mean, out of nowhere, downtrend breakout here. It gapped down, ate the gap pre-market that it created a couple of days ago, ate the gap back up. It's absolutely crazy how it's just been up, down here. And it has that daily gap still open from yesterday's or from today's low. I'm sorry. So back under 225 area. I don't really like the daily, but again, we'll see what happens here. Contracts aren't super juiced, but they are a little juiced. Yeah, 4 or 500. They're not the worst thing I've seen, but I would much rather not be paying $400 or $500 for something at the money, in the money, or close to it. So we will. I know there's a little bit better options around there. I know I can find them and go for that. So we will see what happens there. Like I said, SPY, I'm not going to be looking for too much puts here. Banked on it today, but we'll see. It gets a little dicey around where we're at right now. Ideally, I don't really like this range. I would need to see a little bit better than getting out of this range. We're still at this purple level, so 680 is a pretty big level for SPY. We'll see kind of what happens there. And yeah, I mean, we will definitely see here. Pretty interesting. But tomorrow, like I said, if we open up maybe under there and we see more continuation downward, then I'm ready for it. But if they kind of hold it, which they are so far, and they try and blast it towards the gap some more, then I'm going to be ready to slam more calls. But this time it's going to be a little different. This time's going to be a little different. This time I'm definitely probably not going to go lottos. I'm probably going to protect myself in a little bit better way and know, this next hit out of that gap is going to be an aggressive one. So we'll see. Nvidia is showing a little bit of strength out of this demand too after hours. It was one of the first ones to show some strength after hours here, and again, 183 to 186 $3 move. I like zone to zone here, especially if you can crack above that 185, that 181 purple level right here. We can magnet above that. We could see something like this, like break and then break through that, and take a run into there. That would be great. I'd love to see that. I would love to see that, and I would be willing to play that too. So any move above 183.30 there, I'm ready to go. That's a $3 move. I would hate for all these names to kind of start doing it at once. So you're gonna have to just pick your favorite name, pick your favorite options. I think that's going to be the bigger thing. Your favorite options on what you can get the most bang for your buck. So Nvidia will definitely be one of them. We can look at that, especially if we go like the 185s cheap. 187s would be super cheap. I'd probably stick to 185s. Depends though where we're at. Could be the 90s, right? They're at $20 right now, and if we cross 183, those shoot to 186, 187, and a few dollars out the money. Those go from $20 to almost $100. So we'll see. Almost 130. So over in a crazy amount. That's for sure. We'll see though. We'll see. We got setups. We got some good setups, and so I'm not going to be chasing any puts till it's time to be chasing the puts. And Q will let us know that SPY was the weaker name here as far as price action, but Q did not close above or close under those pre-market lows. It wicked right to it, kind of near close. So that's kind of a interesting thing. Apple completely dumped off here. Apple showed some strength, and it caught my eye pretty early because it pushed up at open, eating most of its gap. And I was like, should I try it? And I was like, nah. I was thinking about slamming calls, but really it was a short. It was a short where you would slap puts up there, and you would have been up immediately, and it dumped off, from 253, 254, all the way down to a low 243. So a $10 move on Apple, probably one of its bigger, pull down days. And I like this. We're in this channel. We ended up breaking on Friday, and man, that's out there. If I would have saw that, I would have. And I'm so mad, but I saw it Sunday night. But if I would have saw that Friday, I would have swung puts just because I knew we had a gap from 255, 253, and it closed right at 255 or just above 255 on that Friday. So I was like, man, imagine swinging puts into that. You would have been up, 252, right? You would have been up as this gap down. And it gave us an entry, an actual real entry there where it pushed all the way up to try and get back to that 255. And, you easily could have maybe sold that open for a small gain or a gain, I guess, and then really laid into that put position as it got actually just sold off completely, or waited till under that 250 level and dumped. Regardless, I am mad I did not snipe this. So again, I think I was a little bit sleep at the wheel just because I was paying a little bit more attention to Spine QQ today than anything else. And some of these individual names did pretty decent, Tesla as well, really zone to zone or level to level, but, rejecting that zone, coming down. Yeah, I mean, some of these names did do pretty good. So we will see kind of what happens going into tomorrow. We are seeing a little bit of green across the board, a little bit of a push up. Is it anything or what it is? We will see. Now here's something crazy. Here's something crazy. QQ on the tape today, I saw a buyer hit at 2104, massive whale buyer. And I'm going to tweet this out right now because I want you guys to kind of see this. Let's see. Yeah, I saw a massive QQ whale buyer today on the tape. Now, the reason why I'm going to explain this that hasn't been filled, and it's 621.04. Keep an eye on this. And the reason why I say keep an eye on this is this. 621.04. The reason why I say keep an eye on this, because every time I see something like that and they're not filled, they always act as like a magnet, right? They act as a magnet to push us back up. They did it last week for the downside. They did it last week, and it just acts like a magnet that kind of just gets us to that price. So it's 621.04, which is right about here, right up there. So where is that on the chart, right? That's literally right where the gap ends. Literally right where the gap ends on that overnight. What is that? The low is 620.14. Okay, well it's just right where the gap almost ends. Ends a little bit higher, a few cents, doesn't matter. We're calling it there, right there at that level. I would not be shocked if tomorrow we see that, or maybe the next day, but usually it's the next day. So if we saw it today and they're not filled, tomorrow is when they try and go for it. It's just crazy because we saw that on QQ on Thursday. I saw a 619 whale seller on the tape when we were at 626. Next day, Friday, where's that low that we hit? Where was that low that we hit? We hit that low right there. And what is that low right there? 619.25. It perfectly hit it. It was like 619.75. So we perfectly hit him and got filled. Crazy. And then we gapped down. So now going into tomorrow, before you start trying to get short on me or super bearish on me, keep that in mind. That 621.04 buyer is still on tape. They're still open. Let's see if they get filled. And if they get filled tomorrow, that means we're just filling the gap on the move up. So keep that in mind. That will be the level they're going for. And I'm gonna keep that in mind as well. I'm gonna keep that in mind as well, just in case, because if we start hitting that gap and we start pushing up, I'm gonna be wanting to trim into the move, and I'm gonna have to tell myself no. hold out because you know they're going to magnet to that 621 level. And I don't know if I saw anything for SPY. That would be crazy. I did. I did see something on the tape. 691.61. 691.61 is filling the gap all the way back up to that blue level. They showed up on the tape. The whale buyer showed up on the tape there. Can we get and fill that gap tomorrow? That's going to be absolutely insane if they do. So seeing SPY whale buyer 691, it's a huge one. Same thing for Q. They're aiming to close those gaps. So let's see if they do it tomorrow. That would be insane if they do. So bookmark this if they do, because I will be tweeting this out if they end up hitting it. I'll actually, let me tweet it out right now in a separate tweet. I'm a separate tweet. Seeing. Trying to magnet us up tomorrow. And first one is QQQ 621.04. Yeah, 621.04 magnet. And the other one is SPY. Let's see. Let's see what they do. Let's see what they do. I'm going to keep that in mind. And like I said, the news could do it too. We don't know. We don't know. And the other one is SPY 691.61. 691.61. That's crazy. Yeah, let's see. All right, I am tweeting it out right now. 691.61, 2104. Let's see what happens. Very curious to see what happens if they go for it or not. Like I said, lately, every time I see them show up on the tape, it usually gets filled the next day. Now, the longest I've seen it go would be, I think maybe 2 days. Maybe 2 days. It's usually okay. No, I would say I saw it on Tuesday and then it got filled Friday. So I would say, it probably a few days in that same week for sure. They don't hang around for too long. If they show up on the tape and they don't get, start pulling price, and it starts getting away, then they'll disappear off the tape. So they'll go away. But we'll see. So far, they closed on the tape, so they're in it. They're set. Let's see if we end up kind of magneted up into that area tomorrow. So I'm excited. I'm ready to go. I'm going to keep an eye on those levels for sure. I'll see what happens. But we got our game plans. We got some individual names we're looking for. The fact that I'm seeing that there, oh, man. Let me see. 178. No, only seeing a buyer friend video. I was going to say, let me look around. Let me look around a little bit. I was going to say, I'm going to have to try and ignore some of these setups, and if SPY and QQ are, showing some of that. So we'll see. IWM 265.72 whale buyer stepped in on the tape, and they almost got it. They almost got it today. They hit 265. What was the high there? High was 265.08. So they're off by like 70 cents. I think they go for that tomorrow for sure. I think they do. Hardest part is, which one am I going to be sizing heavy on and being a little bit more patient for? That's going to be the bigger thing for sure. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to keep an eye on that. So y'all keep an eye on it as well. If you want my trades, wap.com/Real Capital. Slow start to the week doesn't mean we're not going to end it with a bang. So we'll see. We got some news. We got some good stuff. We got some good setups. We're on to them. We see them on the tape for the upside. Let's see if they end up bringing it or not. If anything, again, that downside, again, I'm ready to play. I'm ready to bank. Up or down, doesn't matter. We're coming for it. So if you want my trades, get access to my trades, wap.com/Rico Capital. If you want to learn more about the organization, ricocap.com. Let me know if y'all need anything. DM me, whatever y'all need. I got y'all. Setups, we're good. Let's do this. Let's see what happens tomorrow. Don't be surprised if we do see some upside. And if the upside does not come, be ready for anything to happen on the data. But we'll make our money and see what kind of happens going into that data. if we get a massive kind of, trend day tomorrow, which that's what we would have to need or get in order to fill these, gaps. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know. I'm ready to play it regardless. I'm ready to stick to my levels, my zones. I'm ready to stick to it and see what we can do. So see what happens. Anyways, appreciate y'all showing up. Have a good rest of y'all's night. Let's see what we can do tomorrow. Have a good evening. Stay hydrated. Be ready for anything. And